My parents split up before I was born. My mom moved us girls to Oregon, and my dad stayed in California. So I was born about 7 hours north of my father. Growing up was difficult, as it is for most children. I used to make up stories about my dad and how great he was, and I told a lot of lies. I spent a lot of time in my room. My stepfather was not a nice person, and he and my mom fought pretty much constantly. When I was little, I thought my dad was everything. He was the person who was going to come and save me from my bad family situation. And then I actually went and spent a summer with him when I turned 12 and learned how unimportant I was to him. I was his 7th daughter. He'd been married at that time 5 times. The last correspondence that I received from him was this, which is a wedding invitation to his 6th wedding, and it came in 1991, and that's really the last time that I received anything from him. I was really devastated when I found out what my dad was really like, and he just was not the man that I wanted him to be, and I had a lot of pain, and that pain became anger that I directed at him and at my mom and at myself for being so naive and stupid. And later, as an adult, that pain became fear that I would not let anybody close to me. I wouldn't let anybody pursue a relationship with me because I didn't want to get hurt by another man. And so I would just kind of keep everybody at an arm's length. And I would enter into these shallow relationships, and the minute that they started getting deep, I was out of there. I told myself that I forgave him. I got really good at lying to myself. And I would say things like, I forgive him, I just don't want him to be a part of my life. And so I changed my phone number and not give it to him, and changed my address and not give it to him. And he eventually stopped trying to get it from my sisters. We just kind of didn't communicate for years. My relationship with my dad became really evident in my writing as my character began to develop my traits. And I saw in her the way that she was affected by not having that strong father figure, and the way that she treated men because of it. And it was a real eye-opener, and it helped me to really see that even though I said I forgave my father, I really didn't. When I neared the end of the book, God really began to deal with my heart and show me even more of how much anger and resentment and all of that I really continued to hold against my father. And so when I finished the book, I sent him a copy along with an apology. And the apology basically said, look, I'm sorry for wanting you to be what I wanted you to be. And, you know, God made you the way that you are. And if you're good enough for God, then you're good enough for me. And I'm sorry that it took me so long to see that. And a couple days later, he called me and said that he read my book and he liked it, and that my letter had been an answer to his prayers. He had accepted Jesus into his life, and he'd spent the last several years praying that I would find a way to forgive him and we could have an actual relationship. It floored me to hear that he had been praying for me, because I never thought that he cared. And I'd never realized how desperately I needed his acceptance and his love, and him to just call me and say, honey, I love you and I'm proud of you. Hearing that was just, it was like that one thing that I needed in my life in order to make everything else seem okay. And it has helped me so much, just because, you know, even though I didn't understand that I needed it, God knew that I needed it, and he provided that even without my asking. He, you know, pushed my father to step forward and to man up and to be a dad, and to say, you know, I screwed up and I'm willing to go at this again if you're willing to. And, you know, we're not like, he's not my BFF, but we are emailing and talking, and it's incredible because I never thought I completely wrote that off, but God was not willing to write it off.